Hey folks, so today we're going to talk about restringing the ice rods and how I like to put braid on for my ice setups. So what we have right here is we have Dad's old reel that took a bit of a bust up on Lake of the Woods last March, and it's not his fault, but I like to say it was. So what we're going to do is we're going to rob the fluorocarbon off this to use for some backing. As you can see, some of the things that can happen when you're fishing with fluorocarbon are kinkies and coils and that kind of not fun stuff. So what we're going to do is, this is why I'm going to go with braid for this year. And so we might have some fun times putting the backing on, but that's okay. My backing is some of the nastiest line you will ever see. And that's just because all I'm doing is I'm putting this on so we have a nice little layer so that the braid doesn't spin on the reel. So let's hope this goes okay. This is usually the hardest part on putting kinky old rattlesnake on the line, but we don't need to use much. I'd probably do, I don't know, just enough that I can see that it's covered on the reel, just enough to get the reel covered. Again, just a couple feet is really all you need. So, as you can see here, we've used our fluorocarbon, we've reused, recycled. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to cut that because I want to minimize working with this as much as possible. That's awful. So we threw that out of the way. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our fire line. I'm using Berkeley Crystal 4-pound. This is one of my favorite lines to use for ice fishing. And so now how we're going to tie this on, we're going to do back-to-back uni knots. As you can see, this fluorocarbon is just a mess, but again, that's okay. And that's why we are making the improvement for this year. Because you get the memory, you get that coils, and it is just not a good time. These small spools just does not work out. But the braid doesn't have that memory. Granted, this is a new spool, but my old braid, it lasts for years and years, so it costs a little bit more, but it is a fantastic investment to make. So as you can see, this fluorocarbon is just awful to work with. But so what we're going to do is we're going to tie back-to-back uni knots, hopefully with the fluorocarbon. I hate working with this stuff, but again, I don't have to work with it again after this, so we're going to have a bad 5 minutes and then a good rest of the season. I can handle that. Much better than when you go down. A lot of people talk about your jig spinning. That's what will happen is you'll get this memory from fluorocarbon or mono, and it'll make your jig just spin, and then it'll wrap up and it'll spin backwards, and that spins for like 20 minutes under the ice, and it makes me mad. So that's why we use the old braid, because the braid lacks that memory. A lot of people like those inline reels. I'm just not one that's bought in, just because I can handle that braid situation. With braid, it works way better. I will not have memory. I will not have that spin. And that's just what I like to do. So again, we're going to be mad with the fluorocarbon for right now, but we're going to tie this braid on. We're going to increase our strength, and we're also going to decrease our stretch. Well, now, why does that matter? We're using those really tiny hooks. So when it's way down there, especially when like Lake of the Woods, I'll fish 30 feet, well, that's quite a hook set on a crappie with a little jig. So when you got that big twist, when you got 30 yards of line out, it's going to stretch and you're not going to get a strong hook set. This braid, I'm going to feel every little peck, and then I'm going to get a nice firm hook set. It's not going to stretch. It's going to go really well. So what we've done, I have attached now my braid to my fluorocarbon via double uni knots. We can see it's pretty stinking tight. And again, it's going to be on the reel the entire time anyways, unless I really run out. But again, if I go through, what is this, 50 yards of line in an ice season, I probably had a couple accidents happen. And we don't like accidents. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to string this old braid on. I like to use the entire spool. Again, it's like $6, so, and it's going to last for years and years. But one thing people will do with the backing is they'll take a little bit nicer backing, and then they'll take, say, 25 yards of line as opposed to the whole spool. So then for half the price, they're doing as many rods, and then they have that backing, so if they even do get the end, which I highly doubt they will, especially South Dakota. It's a rare day we fish more than, what, 15, 20 feet. The Ponce gets to 20. Wabe and Bitter can get a little deeper, but again, Clark, Brookings, you're not really going to see much more than 15, 16, 17 feet. So again, this braid's going on really nicely. I want to make sure I have it on well. And another thing I like about the braid is tougher. So when I do get that ice buildup, I can just take my fingers, ice pops right off. And I also like these Cabela's rods. They do have those nice big eyelets, so it's a lot easier. That's why I have this rod for Dad, so he doesn't have to worry about de-icing his line as much. With the Tickle Sticks and the Elite Techs, a little smaller eyelets, but again, I can stay right on top of it. And in the shack, it's not a problem, and even nice days, it's not a big deal, just those awful days that you're out there. So now you can see that we've got our braid on, we've got strength, we've got lack of stretch, and then what I like to do is I like to tie a barrel swivel to some fluorocarbon, because a lot of people will say, well, in braid, they can see it under the ice really well. Well, yeah, well, you know what? What I do is I tie my braid to a barrel swivel, I tie 2 feet of fluorocarbon to it, and it works great. You have the invisibility, you have the abrasion resistance of the fluorocarbon, and you still get that no stretch, those good firm hook sets, and that strength that comes with the braids. So that's how I like to set up my setups. I'm a huge believer in braid, both open and ice water, and it's certainly worth a try this year. So good luck out there, good fishing.